have Belinda Rosenblum here, a CPA and profit strategist of Own Your Money, and she helps female entrepreneurs manage and plan their business so they can take control of their profits. We're here to talk about freelancer pricing strategies and money mindset. Let's dive in. When you said not all revenue is created equal, what did you really mean by that?
What that means is I think that sometimes, particularly as we're getting to our first $5,000 a month, we just say yes to everything, right? We just say yes to all the work. We're like a yes woman. Yeah, I can do that. I'll figure out how to do that. Yes, I'll do that, right? Even if sometimes it takes us a lot more hours to do the thing that we're getting paid for, right? We're just saying yes, we're trying to get there. But now what happens is that as you want to continue to grow, we need to start to create more leveraged work where we are more based on value and we're getting out of that time per dollar. I think first and foremost, I want to see you create the value, get clear on the value and your ability to articulate the value. Because what doesn't work is if you don't have the expertise yet and you're trying to charge really high prices. The last piece I'll say to that too is that oftentimes the who helps determine the price. Because I absolutely believe that there is a price for every buyer and a buyer for every price. As you do specialize, you will be able to more easily put out a different work product, right? And you'll be able to charge more for it. So I think sometimes we're afraid to niche, but I actually feel like there's so much power in niching down because it just makes you so much easier to refer.
I actually wanted to bring up another story. Somebody from our work group was talking about, I've been with this client. We all know she has lots of money, ready to increase my rates. And then, I've been with her just because I've been with a certain amount of time. It's time to increase my rates. And I'm like, but what have you done? I'm like, are you doing this? Are you tracking retention? Are you reporting this? She's like, no. And I'm like, well, I wouldn't pay any more. I feel like you kind of reached the cap for the service you're giving. If you want to get to the next level, you need to be doing better. And I don't know if everyone gets that because we just hear charge what you're worth or increase your rates every 6 months, every 1 year. But there's got to be the results behind it to get to that high caliber client that you're talking about in that niche service.
It's not like, X amount of time has passed. I mean, if it's 2 years, we probably need to raise your rates,
Yeah.
But it's not something like 3 months or 6 months, right? It's really looking at what you're doing versus what you're helping the person create, what you're helping them deliver, right? And sometimes too, if you're niching down, then let's say you niche to coaches that have a high ticket program and you know that what you're doing is directly helping them create more applications and more sales for their business. Then you can kind of get really good at that. And you can be like, okay, what am I doing to be able to drive applications? Whereas if you get really good at something that's driving to a lead magnet, that's a little bit different. It's recognizing that you have the ability to get good at things and then that can create more and more value. And then you can be charging more for certain skills that you have that others don't have.
I was not even aware of money stories until I started this entrepreneurial journey. And then I'm hearing my friends talk about money blocks and I'm reading the books. I'm like, oh God, this is real. And I was blissfully unaware. And I know you shared yours, but what are some other ones that are common, especially with freelancers, if you've seen any kind of pattern?
I think that some of the core ones are often about on the pricing side, let's say, can I charge that? Will people pay that? Am I worth that? Often it's that we let our fear and our tendency to scarcity, to want to pull back instead of lean forward. A lot of it is to look at what you are telling yourself, right? In those moments when you have to say the price, when you see somebody else's price, when you are working on a proposal, when you're working on something for a client, just keep a little log in your journal, in an Evernote, whatever you want, but just start to write down, what are the exact things that you are telling yourself to recognize, what is it? And then at the end of the week, be like, where did I teach that to myself? Or who did I see that embodied that then, because a lot of times it's our parents, it's our grandparents, right? That say who am I to go that big? Who are you to charge that? Who are you to ask somebody for that? Right.
Yeah.
Or there's often the work harder. If I raise my prices, I have to put more in.
Ooh, I do that one. I'm going to raise my hand for that one.
And I was totally guilty of this myself too, until I kind of realized wait a second, this isn't really serving me, is that element of I need to do more because I'm charging more. And actually it gets back to that value conversation that I had to say, actually, how do I make what I'm charging more relative to the value that I'm creating instead of a level of effort? And we think oftentimes, oh, I just need to build my list. I just need to do more, right? And then I'll make more. And I'm like, no, time out. You have resources at your fingertips in terms of being able to manage the money you're making, to be able to price yourself better, which is actually a faster path to more profits than potentially going out and getting more and more clients. A lot of possibility in the money that you're making and the clients that you have. And where could you potentially, there's a gold mine in your current and your past clients.
My unicorns are in this spot where they're afraid to take that next step and start charging more and leaning into the value, leaning more into the strategy of what they're providing and less of the implementation work. So, what's
Mm-hmm.
really going on here? I mean, I think you and I talked about this money mindset question of like scarcity, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's this element of like, no one is going to come in and give you permission to do your profit plan, to figure out how many clients do I want, at what price? Will that get me to the goal that I want? I have a gift that we'll give everybody today is my pay yourself calculator, right? And so use that to figure out what do I want to make and what are your business expenses? And then do you have any debt to pay off or other savings that you want to grow? And then it will figure out at a minimum, you need to be making this. And so once you have that information, you're like, okay, I need to be making $6,000, let's just say a month. Then you can say, okay, well, what are all the different ways that I could make that? And then you literally just run very basic math, right? And you start to like reverse engineer it in a way that pays you what you want and provides the value that you want externally.
I'll say it right here. Anytime you get more involved with connecting to driving more leads and more sales, you can charge more.
Help be the path to cash for your clients.
Yeah.
Right. And so if you can help them see, okay, if we lean into this, if I put in more time, if I put in more time with engagement, or if I have someone on my team do more with engagement, then let's start to set some goals, right? Because then what you can do is you can take things that feel qualitative and make them quantitative. We're trained to be this employee. And I think that we're often treating our businesses like we are the overworked employee in the business. And I want this to be your wake up call to say, actually, you are the CEO of a business. And I know you don't want to be in it for the money, but your business needs money to survive. You know, it's not, you can't just like pay your mortgage with, that was really great and thank yous. You know, like you need real cash to pay your mortgage and to buy groceries, right? And so use this as that wake up call to be like, right, I need to be the CEO of my business, what I call the cash flow CEO, because you are aware of your numbers. You're prioritizing profit, you're creating the leverage, right? And you are giving yourself freedom and profit in your business.
This cost of inaction, can we just unpack this for a hot second? What is that? Like, how do we face these numbers? Because that is always what I see, what I could be earning and what I'm leaving on the table and how this is taking away from my family. It always spurs me.
Yeah. And I think that's actually a really good point too, that you need to know why you want to make more money. And I think that sometimes there's a little bit of a disconnect in that it just feels like this intangible out there money thing, right? And it's like money is actually the thing that's paying the mortgage, it's paying the groceries, it's helping you take the vacations, it's paying for the kids' activities, and for you to get clear on, okay, how much more money do I want to make and why? Right? So once you can start to realize that, then maybe you can let that help drive you to work through the fears, because you may have some fears when you're raising your rates, when you're putting yourself out there in this bigger way. So the cost of inaction essentially has you think about, okay, if I keep charging this rate, right, then what am I going to be earning? Whereas if I actually go out more boldly and charge this rate and do this higher value service, what could I make? It's really helpful to say, okay, if I keep going at this rate, this is what I'll be making. If I raise it, this is what I'll be making. And this is what happens if I wait and I don't raise it for 3 months or 12 months. And then you start to see and you're like, holy cow, that's like $10,000 that I'm not making because I'm still charging this lower rate. And you actually start to see that every day, every week, every month that you're undercharging, not only are you resenting clients, right, and feeling less than because you know that you're undercharging, like it's absolutely taking you down rungs on that self-worth chart. But moreover, you're not making the money that you could be making because you're not acting and asking.
I mean, I just have to say that client resentment, that's real. That's real. At the end of the day, when you're not happy about your work, when you just resent that the time you've like given to this client, like that's not why we're freelancing. And you talked about your why, but there's this whole other part of us that's freelancing because we want freedom and we do want fun.
Well, and that's probably why we went into business, right? Was to
Yeah.
have the ability to do the things that are fun for us, right? To be able to enjoy our roles. And the overarching message here, right, is to get that like you are in control of your business
Hmm.
and that you are the cause here. So let's create the effect that we want, right? It's not that your business is happening to you, right? You and or that life is happening to you. It's that life is happening for you. Life is happening because of you. So how can you look at your business and say, what is the business that I actually want? How much do you want to get paid? What are the hours that you want to work, right?
Hmm.
What are the types of things you want to be doing? Who are the clients that you want to work with? And declare that, get clear on that vision. And then we will move mountains to help you get there.
Oh my gosh, you dropped so much good gold here. And I mean, my big takeaway here, and this isn't new too, but we have to stop letting fear hold us back and put ourselves first. All right, you can grab Belinda's Pay Yourself calculator in the link below and go listen to the full episode over on Unicorns Unite on your favorite podcast listening app.